What's going on, guys? Welcome back to WWE Network and Show, where I, Graham Jason Matthews, break down all the original content I watch on the WWE Network. Today we're talking an original special called Live to Win, a conversation with Triple H and Lemmy that went up, I believe, on Sunday. Now, I remember watching either this exact same special or a snippet of it or something when it was originally filmed 5 years ago. So, what this is exactly is a sit-down conversation with Corey Graves, Triple H, and Lemmy Kilmister, I believe, of Motorhead, the lead singer of Motorhead, of course. He passed away in December of 2015. This was filmed 2 months before that. So, again, I remember either seeing this or a clip of it. I believe I probably just saw an edited-down version of it, because it looked very familiar watching, and I believe I probably saw maybe a 4 or 5 minute version in WWE's YouTube channel. But it was pretty cool that in honor of Triple H's 25-year career anniversary of his big career celebration, they uploaded the full thing right now to the network. And I watched it. It's about 37 minutes in length, so it's a bit lengthy, but it's well worth the watch. Again, this is 2 months before Lemmy passed away, and you could probably tell, too. I mean, when you look back at all the old footage of Lemmy interacting with Triple H in the early 2000s and even up until a couple of years ago, and then compare it with the Lemmy in this special from 2000, not even 2020, but 2015, it's like night and day. He looked very ghostly. He looked like he was not very well at all. And the difference was only about 10 years. That's the weird thing. Like, if you compare Lemmy of 2000 or WrestleMania 21 when they performed live for Triple H's entrance to Lemmy of 2015, it's amazing that they were still recording music with him in that state. Now, I'm not sure when they recorded their last album before he passed away, but on this special, he just doesn't look all that good at all. And another thing, too, when you're watching it, is that it's kind of hard to make out a lot of what he's saying, just because, not that he's mumbling, but like, again, he just doesn't look all that well. He has trouble saying certain things. Thankfully, there are captions and subtitles for a lot of this special, so if you can kind of overcome that part of it, I think you'll really enjoy it. I thought overall it was very good, and I learned a lot about the Triple H Motorhead relationship that I did not know before. So to kick this thing off, Lemmy's 2015 death is recapped by Corey Graves. They show Lemmy hanging out with Triple H and Corey 2 months before he died at a bar in California called, I believe it's called The Rainbow, because they talk about it a little later on. So they sit down for this candid conversation with one of the greatest, rock music artist of all time, one of the greatest rock singers of all time. They talk about how Triple H and Lemmy have known each other since the early 2000s, and that Triple H wanted the most kick-ass music for his entrance, and it was time for him to get a new theme. This was right after he was using, I believe, the My Time song, which is a fucking badass song, and they needed a new song for him. It was always going to be the game. I never knew this. This is probably common knowledge by now. I thought the game song was always intended to be sung by Motorhead. It actually wasn't. So they play a version of the song that I had never heard before. Maybe other people have heard it before. It's a very different version of the game. They had already written the song of the game, probably Jim Johnston, whatever. And then because it really wasn't what Triple H wanted, he wanted it to sound like Motorhead. And he's like, why don't we just bring in Motorhead? And he's like, yeah, that'd be awesome. And that's what the company said to him. And he's like, yeah, that'd be great. So they bring in Motorhead, and he absolutely fucking killed it. Lemmy rewrote the game song, and it was exactly what Triple H was looking for. So they always reconnected whenever Triple H was in town. I believe they're based out of England. I mean, that sounds like a dumb question, but he has an English accent, so I'm assuming that Motorhead is based out of England. But whenever Triple H was in the same place as Lemmy and the rest of Motorhead, they would always reconnect, and it was like no time had passed. At the same time, they talk about how Motorhead, what their goal was with their music, what Lemmy's goal was with Motorhead, was for them to always be themselves. Always. Triple H thought their type of music was powerful, and he said, or rather Triple H said about Motorhead, the image that they want to put out there was the image that we wanted to have. Talking about Triple H wanting to kind of mimic Motorhead and kind of have the same, anti-authority attitude that Motorhead was having with their music back at that point. So Triple H met Motorhead actually after the fact, after they had already recorded his new theme song. So they actually show footage of maybe not their first interaction, but one of their first interactions at a SmackDown taping in 2001, in March of 2001, right before WrestleMania 17. And remember, this was right before, and they talk about it here, this was right before Motorhead actually recorded, or not recorded, but rather performed live the game song for WrestleMania 17. So they did the song, he hears it in person, and then he meets Motorhead that same day. So a pretty surreal moment for Triple H. And they talked about the reaction that he had to the song and how crazy it was and how Jericho and Stone Cold loved the song too. They're like, damn, holy shit, that's badass. That's a great song. So again, he heard the song actually after they already recorded it. He didn't meet them, I believe, until after the song was already done. Thankfully, it was a good song. If it was a bad song, it would be a different story. But it's one of the greatest entrance themes of all time. So Lemmy actually revealed that he didn't know much about wrestling at the time, and to kind of get to know more about Triple H so he could record this song, he actually went to one of his matches. Didn't say what it was, but whatever match it was, Triple H lost. And he and Triple H revealed that anytime Lemmy went to go see him perform live, to see Triple H in person for a match, he would always lose. It was a running gag, whether it was that time, WrestleMania 17, WrestleMania 21, he always lost. I mean, really, that kind of goes for any live performance of WrestleMania. I can't think of... I'm sure there's been one. Rey Mysterio, I believe, at WrestleMania 22 is the only one I can think of, that these people had their themes performed live, and then they subsequently won. It's far more people that have lost than won, I'll tell you that much right now. So they tell this quick story about Motorhead. They didn't know they were going up next. At WrestleMania 21 for the main event, there was this jumble, and the production crew was freaking out, and Lemmy had said that he had never seen so much panic before in his life, because they didn't know that Motorhead was going up next for the entrance, and they had to scramble to get everything ready. And then once they finally did, it seemed like you would never even know. I watched WrestleMania 21 back a couple of weeks ago, earlier this month, and you would never even know that there was a mix-up and that they were scrambling to get them on stage, because they had done it so seamlessly. They had done it so quickly and really, so well that you would never know they were scrambling to get Motorhead on stage right before they were supposed to be on stage. Anyway, so we see Triple H opening up a few of their concerts, which I thought was kind of cool. Imagine being at a Motorhead concert and then seeing Triple H come out. I feel like there's a big overlap between the rock music community and WWE and pro wrestling. So if I was at a Motorhead concert and I saw Triple H, I'm like, wow, that's pretty fucking cool, Motorhead, or rather Lemmy talks about how Motorhead never really wanted to be trendy, and Triple H wanted all of his songs to have the same sound. So when it came time to record other music, like for the Evolution theme song and for his King of Kings theme song, he wanted Lemmy to record it all. So he said that Evolution just had a different feel. I think that's what Triple H... I wrote that down here. I forgot who said it, but I believe Triple H said that. And it does. The Evolution theme song, Line in the Sand, has a completely different feel than the game theme song and King of Kings, which, while all three songs have the same sound, they all have very different feels, and that can especially be said for the Evolution theme song, which is, so again, one of the greatest theme songs ever. Definitely one of the greatest theme songs for a stable of all time. DX is up there too, NWO as well. Evolution has got to be on that list. Not for just greatest factions, period, but for greatest faction theme songs. That's how good that song is. Lemmy actually said that King of Kings was his favorite. Triple H said that he always identified with Motorhead growing up, which is why he was such a big fan of them. Corey Graves asked, who was one of your favorite artists to collaborate with? And he said Lemmy. Lemmy was someone that he collaborated a lot with and had a lot of fun with. He said that Corey also asked, what's one song that you guys always perform live that you're kind of sick of performing at this point? And he said, not that he's sick of performing it, but he plays it a lot because that's what they're best known for, is the Ace of Spades song. Now, WWE actually used that. I wouldn't be surprised if they talked about it here, and that inspired Triple H to use it for TakeOver, London, which actually worked out perfectly because Motorhead is an English band. So they used that for the TakeOver London show, and it wasn't because Lemmy passed away. Lemmy actually died right after that TakeOver show. Now, again, they didn't perform it live on that show, of course, because Lemmy just was in no condition to perform. Not that I'm not sure if that was ever a discussion. Maybe it was. Who knows? That would have been pretty cool. A lot like when Code Orange performed live at the TakeOver, the TakeOver Brooklyn 3 show, I want to say, for Aleister Black's entrance, which is kind of cool. Anyway, but Ace of Spades, I guess, is like their most well-known song. And he said that some people only know them by that song. Like when he asks people, oh, what's your favorite song on that album? They have no idea because they only know Ace of Spades. Triple H also shared a few stories about Lemmy and being on the road. And, I think when Lemmy met Stephanie, his wife, of course, Stephanie McMahon, when they met and how Lemmy was just a big partier and all this other type of stuff whenever they were on the road. And Corey also asks Lemmy, what's your favorite crowd to perform in front of? And he said he doesn't really have a favorite crowd, just that all of his, all of their fans, all the Motorhead fans are always so rowdy and loud and energetic that it makes any crowd to perform in front of a lot of fun. So he doesn't really have one specific favorite type of crowd. And Corey also asks, he was kind of curious, why do you why do you sing with the mic down? Or rather with the mic up, I think? Yeah, with the mic like up above his head, and then he talks into the microphone. And he sings into it, whatever, when he's on stage, doing the concerts. Lemmy said it's more natural that way. It's all a matter of personal preference, but he does it because, he finds that his voice is more powerful that way, and he actually likes that way a lot. They talk about the release of their latest album, which I would assume was their last album before he passed away. Their 22nd album, I believe he said, which is fucking crazy. It was either called Bad Magic or Black Magic, and he talks about the process that went into making that, and how on it, I believe Motorhead did a cover of Sympathy for the Devil for Triple H. That was a Triple H idea, and Motorhead, or specifically Lemmy, wasn't really on board with it initially, because they weren't a big fan of the song, but they recorded a cover of it, and it came out amazingly well. And Triple H was like, holy shit, that song was great. Now, I don't think Triple H ever used it. I'm not sure if it was ever used for a video package. I don't remember. But that is pretty cool that they had done it at, Triple H's request, and they knocked it out of the park. Corey Graves also asks Lemmy, where do you continue to find inspiration for your music all these years later? Lemmy says 3 different things. He says fucking, but he means sex. So he said, obviously they blurb that part out. He says, fucking, music, and, or no, not music, I'm sorry, fucking, death, and war are the 3 topics that they always go back to for their music. Lemmy had said that he wanted Triple H to do a track for one of his albums many years ago, where he had Triple H record an intro to the song, and they both talked, and they synced the song, or rather their voices together at the beginning of the track. And Triple H was like, that was one of the most surreal experiences ever. It was absolutely amazing. And it was after that they kind of spoke for a while, got to know each other, that they really hit it off. So not initially when they met in 2001, but soon after that they became really, really good friends. And whenever they would leave and they would reconnect, they would always pick up right where they left off. Lemmy, he's asked by Corey, what kind of music do you listen to this day? And he said a lot of old music, the Beatles. I forgot the other bands that he mentioned, but a lot of old stuff, a lot of English music, stuff like that. He said he doesn't like electronic music. It reminds him too much of disco, which he fucking hates, I guess. I guess Lemmy hates disco, so breaking news. He just doesn't like hip-hop. He says, I'm sorry, guys, I just don't like hip-hop. It's very boring to me. He's a big rock music guy. They then talk about the venue that they're currently residing in, that being the Rainbow. It's a bar, I believe, or a restaurant over in, I believe, Southern California. And at last check, I think it's still open, even 5 years later. It's been around since 1972. And it's very much dedicated to Motorhead. There's a lot of Motorhead memorabilia all over the restaurant. He revealed that he actually moved to the United States in 1990. And then when he was asked at the end of the special what he wants his legacy to be, when he, overall when he's done, which it's a very timely question because he passed away 2 months later. He said he wants to be remembered as an honest man, doesn't pretend, and that all of his dreams came true. Corey asks, is there anything else you want to do, or did all of your dreams come true? He said, listen, all my dreams came true. I got to do everything that I wanted to. And again, how fitting because he passed away 2 months later. So thankfully he has no regrets or no unfinished goals and stuff like that. But he was still making music up until the day he died, which is kind of crazy. And he's happy to say that he never gave in to the money. And then for the final minute or two of the special, they recap his funeral. Now, recap might be the wrong word because it's not really a recap. Like I'm saying it like it's a wrestling show or like a wrestling match. But they show highlights and stuff like that, some shots from his funeral, how Triple H spoke at the funeral. We hear from him a little bit. They show a lot of pictures of Lemmy and Triple H together, and Triple H talked about how much Lemmy meant to him. It's very emotional. I got very teary-eyed watching this because they obviously were very close, and then, Triple H grew up idolizing this guy, and he did all of his entrance music, and then he passes away pretty suddenly. At least they had this conversation. He was very happy and that he was able to speak to Lemmy one last time and get it on camera, which I thought was awesome. Again, I feel like I've seen some clips of this before, either on the network or on the WWE YouTube channel or on Culture Shock with Corey Graves. I'm not exactly sure where I saw it, but I've definitely seen some shots of this conversation before, but I'm very glad I watched it in full. It was very good. Again, 37 minutes in length, but if you're a Triple H fan, if you're a Lemmy fan, Motorhead fan, you will very much enjoy this. A very candid conversation with one of the greatest of all time, right before he passed away, too. So I'm very glad they were able to do this and able to put it up for the big Triple H 25-year celebration they have going on at the moment. They also have a greatest Triple H match compilation, or how do you say it? Compilation of Triple H's greatest matches of all time. That's also up on the network. I don't review that stuff just because it's 6 hours of matches. There's not really much to review there of matches we probably have already seen before. But you can check that out on the network if you want your Triple H fix during this 25-year celebration of the game in WWE. That being said, guys, thanks so much for checking out this episode of WWE Network and Chill. We'll be back soon with another episode, maybe as soon as probably Friday with a new Total Divas review for Season 5, Episode 5, so stay tuned for that. Until then, be sure to like this video, drop a comment, share the video, and subscribe to the channel for more content. And that's about it. So more Dark Side of the Ring reviews coming here to Network and Chill in the future. Any new WWE Network content will be broken down and reviewed here on the channel. I think there's a new, speaking of Triple H, a new WWE Untold going up on Sunday about how he became the game. And the big Mick Foley feud, I believe, from either, I want to say 2000, the big Triple H Mick Foley feud from 2000, the Hell in the Cell match, the street fight, and what was supposed to be Mick Foley's retirement, which ended up not being his retirement. They ended up going back on that like a month later when he competed at WrestleMania. But anyway, that's going to be a new episode of Untold going up on Sunday, so hopefully I can watch it on Sunday and then review it that day. I watched and reviewed Ride Along this past weekend, and the review did monster numbers, like a couple hundred views, which was cool. It's probably because I was able to watch it and review it in the same day. So I'm hoping I could do that with the Untold episode going up this Sunday on the WWE Network. Until next time, guys, have a great one. Enjoy the rest of your week. I'm Graham G. Matthews, and I'll catch your ass down the road.